You might have seen images of Bighorn Mine on Instagram. It's a popular spot because it's really photogenic, but it's also very beautiful. It's in the middle of Sheep Mountain Wilderness on the slopes of Mount Baden-Powell, and the mine itself is considered one of the classic mines here in the San Gabriel Mountains. I'll show you how to hike to Bighorn Mine, and I'll also point out some of the things along the way that you might have otherwise missed. Mine is less than 40 miles away from downtown Los Angeles, but it feels like a world away. Start the hike up at Vincent Gap, which is up at 6,600 feet. And up here with the trees and the bighorn sheep signs, it really feels like you're up in the high mountains. If you get here early like I did, you should have no problem finding a parking spot. The hike is an out and back, about 4 miles altogether. In the very beginning, we have a little bit of a downhill stretch. And then when we get to this spot right here, the trail is usually washed out, and you can see when it rains and snows and the snow melts, it all comes down the chute and washes the trail out. So this is really the only sketchy section. And once we pass the sketchy section, we continue along the contour line here up until we get to the Bighorn Mine. At the beginning of the hike can be the trickiest. We're going to go through the White Gate. You're going to see a couple trails here, including the one up to Baden-Powell, but we're going to head towards Mine Gulch. We're not going all the way on that trail, but I'll show you that in a second. So we're just going to head through the gate. Once you go through the gate, there's a bit of a gradual downhill. Then you'll cross into the Sheep Mountain Wilderness. And right here, there's a trail split. Mine Gulch goes down to the left, and we're not going to take that, but we might come back up that at the end. And you can see some views down into the gulch, but we're instead going to go off to the right. And we're going to continue here on what was the old road to the mines. And you can see how nice and wide it is. It's a very easy, well-graded trail to hike on. You might have also noticed that there's no one out here hiking in these pictures. That's because I got here at sunrise on a weekday, which is the best time to do it. Probably the worst time to do it would be 9 a.m. on a weekend. But if you come here early in the morning, you can have all of this beauty to yourself. All right, so you know how we just started at Vincent's Gap? Well, it's named after Charles Vincent, but that's not a real name. And now that I say Charles Vincent, it sounds like a kind of a fake name. Sorry if your name's actually Charles Vincent, but the guy known as Charles Vincent fought in the Civil War back east. And after the war, he probably had what we'd consider now to be PTSD, but he came out west, he started mining. He was in Arizona, he got into a scuffle, a conflict with some other people, and he murdered somebody. And in order to escape the law, he kept going west. He settled here, right in this area around Vincent's Gap and Vincent's Gulch below, changed his name to Charles Vincent, and basically lived a second life here, just trying to escape that murder. But when he was here hunting bighorn sheep, he found gold up where the Bighorn Mine is, and that's why it's called the Bighorn Mine. And his discovery there was sort of the genesis of that becoming a much bigger mine and a much, more established structure that we'll see in a second. But that's Charles Vincent, Vincent Gap, Vincent Gulch, all named after him. And you can actually still see his cabin down there. Maybe we'll hit it on the way back. It's kind of cool. It's all reconstructed. So let's head on to the mine. Maybe we'll hop down there on the way back. When you come out of the trees and you come around the bend, you're going to get nice views of Mount Baldy over there. That's the highest point in Los Angeles County. Pine Mountain to its left. And then we're going to continue up to the part that's washed out. And you can see up ahead there how severely washed out it is. I mean, every year the path through here changes. And, obviously when there's snow and ice on here, this is not a place to be. But otherwise, it's usually just a matter of picking yourself through or picking your way through this. And it's rocky, it's washed out in places. You probably do best with trekking poles here, but it definitely is doable. And you can see there's plenty of people that have been through here before me. Now, once we're past the washed out section, the trail starts to go uphill a little bit. You'll definitely feel it, but it's not a big mountain climb or anything. And very shortly after doing this little uphill, you're going to come to the first mine shaft. Now, there's a bunch of mine shafts around this area. I've heard from people who are into mines that there's over 2 miles of mine shafts from the Bighorn Mine. And you can see it's really just wet. Obviously, if you go into these mines, you're taking some risks that you might not come out, but I know some of you like to do that anyway. From there, we're going to continue on, and there's a bit of a split, and we're going to bear to the right here. Off to the left, you're going to see some foundations down the hill there. Those are from the old buildings that used to be part of the Bighorn Mine, including a U.S. post office at one point. Now, after passing that intersection, you'll come around the corner and the Bighorn Mine will come into view, or what's left of the Bighorn Mine. But it is beautiful. This is the best place to get a picture of it. You can't fly any drones in here because it's a wilderness area, but you're going to make your way up to it. You'll pass some of the mine shafts up on the right there and go through this little dip in the gully and then come up into the ruins of the mine. Now, this is obviously a dangerous area. You know, nothing here is maintained. Things can fall, wood can fall, boards can fall. So you just have to be careful as you explore. But this is the main view when you come out here. This is where all the pictures are. In the distance, you could see on the left-hand side, Mount Baldy, and then Big Iron is that little knob on the right-hand side over there. Now, if you want to explore, it's fun to check it out, but again, be careful what you grab onto. Not everything is secure. You can grab onto a beam and it can move here. There are mine shafts that you can look into. Obviously, be careful. You're not really supposed to go into them, but I know people do. But overall, this is pretty cool. You can see how time has ravaged this mine, which was in operation in some form from 1891 until the 1980s. Really remarkable, but you can see that obviously Mother Nature is winning this battle. And once you're done here, you just go back the way you came. It's a pretty simple hike. I'm going to head back, but instead of going all the way back, I'm going to take you down to Vincent's cabin, show you what that looks like, because that's also pretty cool. Now, on the way back to find the little shortcut to the cabin, once we go past the washed out area and come around the first turn, I want you to keep looking for a trail off to the right, and we're going to take this trail down to the cabin. Now, this is not an official trail, but it's definitely a trail that's there, as you can see in the video. We're just going to follow this downhill. It's sort of a gradual trail. When it comes to a little bit of a dead end, it looks like straight kind of dead ends. That's the old trail. We're going to make the right-hand turn and continue downhill, and then from here, the cabin will come into view. The cabin's one of my favorite spots in the San Gabriels. It's such a peaceful and cool area. I could definitely imagine living here. The structure is obviously new. It's been restored. It's shut off now. I used to be able to go inside, but no longer because people vandalize things. But you can still chill out here, take a look at it. The workmanship is pretty incredible. When Charles Vincent lived here, he had a vegetable garden, and actually grizzly bears roamed the area here. The last grizzly bear was shot nearby in Orange County. I have a video on that. I'll put that up on the screen if you want to check it out. But enjoy the cabin. This is where Charles Vincent was found basically dying in 1926 as well. And when he was brought to the hospital in Los Angeles, he made that whole deathbed confession about being a murderer. And today he's buried in Los Angeles National Cemetery because he is a Civil War veteran. To continue, we're going to take the trail that's opposite the entrance to the cabin. It's a little bit hard to spot at first, but once you get on it, you'll definitely be able to see there is a trail there. Again, this is not a marked trail on the maps, I don't believe, but we're going to take this for a little bit, and then we're going to intersect with the Mine Gulch Trail and make a left on Mine Gulch to head back to the Vincent's Gap parking area. There's a little bit of uphill on this, but the trail's easy to follow, and before you know it, you'll be coming back out at the Sheep Mountain Wilderness sign. And then from there, it's just a short ways back to the gate and back to the start of the hike at Vincent's Gap. Just a couple of quick tips here at the end. First of all, check whether the road is closed. You can go to the Caltrans site, just search for CA Route 2. This road closes all the time when there's storms, washouts, whatever it might be. Also, in the winter, this area can get clobbered with snow and the road can be closed because of that. If it is the winter, even if the road is open, I don't recommend doing this hike if you don't have some serious experience. You saw those narrow sections I showed you earlier. When there's snow and ice on there, it's a whole different ballpark, so not really safe, not really a fun hike then. Best done later in the summer and the fall. That's the best time to do it. And maybe you'll catch some fall colors like I did in this video as well. For gear, if you have trekking poles, they'll obviously help on that narrow section. Like I mentioned earlier, having good footwear is important here. And also, this is a backcountry hike. There's not really cell phone service here, at least for me. You're going to want to carry the 10 essentials. And if you have a satellite communicator, bring that with you as well. If you have an iPhone 14 or 15, it might have the satellite SOS on it. That'll do well here too. If you want to do another hike, if you have some good physical conditioning, you can do Baden-Powell, which is right next door. We saw it in the beginning there. It's basically 4 miles straight up and then 4 miles straight down, but it's a beautiful summit. Really, really fun. I highly recommend that, and I have a guide for that on my website and my channel too. Just search for Hiking Guy Baden-Powell. And if you want to find turn-by-turn directions that you can print out or save to your phone, I have that on my website for the hike I just showed you. Just search for Hiking Guy Bighorn Mine. You can save it and have those directions with you while you go. And I also have a GPX file that you could load onto your iPhone, Apple Watch, whatever it might be, GPS unit to guide you along the way. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you out there.